Why are there so many fees? That's one of the most common questions that I hear from candidates in 19 years of franchise consulting. Let's take a few minutes and talk about why franchisors have so many fees. So why are there so many fees? Or the question should be, are there really so many fees? Let's get into that topic right now. Let me define some of the most common fees that franchisors have. The first one, of course, being the franchise fee. This is a one-time fee that you give to the franchisor on the day that you sign your franchise agreement. When you've completed your due diligence, you've been approved for the opportunity, and you've said yes, you execute your franchise agreement and you pay the franchise fee. If you are investing in more than one territory or for the right to build multiple stores over time, then you will pay for all of the franchises that you're committed to up front. Of course, you won't be expected to open them all at one time. You would be given a development agreement on when those additional territories or locations would have to be open. But back to the franchise fee. So what is this fee? Certainly, if you are an entrepreneur, you wouldn't have this fee. So the franchise fee, I call it the cost of entry. It opens the gate to Disneyland and buys you access. Instant access to this ready-made toolbox. And that fee really is the difference between an entrepreneur going out and spending 3 to 5 years figuring out how to make money and hopefully not running out of money while they're trying to figure out how to make money, and a franchise owner paying that franchise fee, getting that ready-made toolbox, and then hitting the ground running from day one. That is the difference. So that is the value of a franchise fee. Now, the other big fee in a franchise is the royalty. Now, how dare those franchisors charge money every month and take 6% of my gross sales, right? This is the kind of questions I get from candidates, like, how dare they, I understand that if you are comparing starting a franchise business to starting a business on your own, or even buying a private business for sale, a business on your own or a mom and pop business does not have that ongoing commitment back to the franchisor. But what a business, a startup business, or a mom and pop that you're buying also doesn't have is the training, the support, the proven marketing, and the ongoing relationship with a brand, right? So when you're paying a royalty, which is a percentage of your gross sales that you're giving back to the franchisor every month, and by the way, the national average on a royalty is between 6 and 10% of gross sales. As I said, typically collected on a monthly basis. But when you're paying that money back to the franchisor needs to make money. If we want our franchisors to be there, to keep growing the brand, to keep looking for new opportunity, to be staying ahead of the competition, to be adapting and changing to pandemics, we have to have a profitable franchisor partner. Well, how does the franchisor make money if not from its franchisees? So we cannot begrudge the franchisor the opportunity to make money off of us. They make money because we make money. I know that some people feel like, yeah, but even if I'm not making money, I still have to pay them. Well, how is that fair? Well, it's fair because, with all due respect, this isn't all about you. No, I'm just kidding. It's fair because they know that their plan works. If there's a whole system of franchisees making money and you're the only one or one of the only ones not making money, how is that their fault? So when you said yes to a franchise business, you said yes to owning it. And everybody wants to own it when it's successful, but very few people want to own it when it's not. They want to blame the franchisor, but is that really fair? You are the number one factor in your success in your business. So if their plan works and it's working for other franchise owners and you're not achieving the success that you want, then it's up to you to figure out how to turn your ship around. It's up to you to go out and reach out to those other top performing franchisees to figure out what they're doing that you may not be doing to make your business more successful. You can't begrudge the franchisor the opportunity to be making money off of you. And anyway, when people ask me, how is it fair that I have to pay that franchisor even when I'm not making money? They're actually referring to one of the clauses in the franchise disclosure document that says that, even if you're not making money, you still owe us X% of gross sales or a minimum of. Well, minimum performance standards are not in there to screw you over when you're talking to the franchisor and working with the franchisor and doing all that you can to make your business work. A minimum performance standard is in a franchise disclosure document because sometimes, believe it or not, people sign franchise agreements and then they go AWOL. What do you mean? People sign a franchise agreement and then they don't show up and open their business? That's exactly what I mean. And ultimately, the franchisor needs control over every territory. I mean, look, they're not making any money if the guy that bought it never opened the business or did anything with it. So if their business plan requires, them to be making a certain amount of money per territory that they're awarding, then they ultimately need to have control over that territory. So when you're reading an FDD and you come across a statement like that, don't jump to conclusions that this is so unfair. Take the question into the process. Come to somebody like the Daily Coach. Take it to the franchisor that you're talking to and ask them, why is this clause in there? Have you ever enforced it? And what do you mean by it? Ultimately, what you're going to find is that franchisors are your business partner. They turned their business into a franchise, yes, to use other people's money to build their brand, but the right franchisors are not just in it for your royalty dollar. Those are the ones that fail. The right franchisors are in it for your success. They're making money because you're making money, not the other way around. That's a very important thing to always remember. And when you're doing your due diligence, it's really important that you're exploring multiple franchisors so that you can get a sense of who they are and how much they really care about their franchisees. So that when you say yes, you don't have this jaded attitude that you're just giving them 6% of your gross sales and they're not doing anything for it. All right. But ultimately, their job is to grow the brand. Your job is to be that great brand ambassador, bringing that brand back to your hometown and making something of it. Their job is to have a more global view, watching the competition, watching the market, bringing in new adaptations to keep your business growing and thriving as the market, as the economy, as the world changes. And ultimately, that's the value of paying a royalty, right? That you're in business for yourself, but not by yourself. Does that make sense? Now, other fees that franchises may have could be a marketing fee. Now, it's kind of funny that people say, why do they charge so much money to advertise this business? Oftentimes people think that in giving that franchise fee, that's what they're paying for. And I'm like, wait a minute. Owning a business is about finding customers. So if the franchisor could find your customers for you, well, why would they need you? They wouldn't be selling a franchise. So it's always your job as the business owner to be the one marketing to get your phone to ring. Now, some franchisors will take your advertising dollars from you and spend them for you. Some franchisors even have national call centers, so they'll get your phone to ring and then they'll answer your phone. But other franchisors don't do that. They just say, here's our marketing plan, here's how much money we suggest you spend, and here's where we suggest that you spend the money. And then you get to go out and refine that marketing plan in your area. So if they have marketing that they do for you and a call center, you'll probably be giving them those marketing dollars, and then maybe you're paying per lead, right, that they generate for you. Some of those franchisors even take the customer's credit card. Right? And so they can get the phone to ring, they can answer the phone, and they can take the customer's credit card. And that leaves you the simple operation of then sending, the technician out to the home or delivering on what was sold through that call center. That could be a really, really simple operation. Any fee that you are questioning in a franchise should be taken directly to the franchisor to really understand what that fee is covering, and then to stop and consider, if I didn't own this franchise, would I have this fee? What I wanted to say before was it's sort of funny that people start questioning marketing fees because look, 90% of startup businesses fail. That is not a statistic that's owned in franchising. That is the pure mom and pop entrepreneurial route that everybody thinks is so great. So if you go out and you start a business on your own, you have a 90% chance of failing before your 5th anniversary. Not to be Debbie Downer, but that's a fact. You can look it up. So the reason that 90% of those businesses fail, they fail because they can't figure out how to make money, which AKA means they can't figure out how to get enough customers. Typically, that's what it means. So if an entrepreneurial business is failing because they can't figure out how to get enough customers, and then over here in the franchise, they're telling you this is how much money it's going to cost in order for you to build a positively cash flowing business, how can we then question the franchisor or say, oh, how do these franchisors get off charging all this money to start a business? They're not charging it. It's what it actually costs to build the business. Are you getting it? The entrepreneurs are failing because they're dreamers. And I'm not saying anything bad. We need entrepreneurs. If we didn't have entrepreneurs, we would never have franchises, right? Because all franchises started out as an entrepreneurial venture. But in that process of trial and error, these people are running out of money. So over here in the franchise world, it's safer because they have a proven plan. And the proven plan includes things like marketing that is essential to most businesses to get the phone to ring or to get those customers walking through the door. Have I made myself clear? Any other fee that you're tripping over or questioning, absolutely take it to the franchisor that you are engaged with. And more importantly, take the questions out to the franchisees. The people who are already paying those fees, they have the answers that you really want to hear. If they're happy, despite paying all the fees, they're still making millions of dollars and knowing what they know now, they would do it again, then I'm pretty sure that if you say yes, you're probably going to feel exactly like they do. The last point I'm going to make about the fees that you pay, specifically regarding the royalty. So when people really go hardcore on me and they're questioning the value of an 8% royalty, let me first step back and explain this. A lot of times people feel like a lower royalty is a better deal for them. And I'm like, really? Let's think about what you're saying. So if you are the franchisor and you know that the national average is 6 to 10%, would you only take 6%? Yeah, I don't think so. Franchisors are going to take the maximum that they can take, right? You would do the same thing, so don't judge. So when you see a low royalty, what does that actually mean? Well, I think it could mean a couple of things. Number one, it could mean that there's no margin in the business. So if they take more, they're not going to be leaving you enough to make it a legit return, right? The other thing that a low royalty, a flat royalty, or even a system that has no royalty. Sometimes you see that advertised, no royalty, as if it's a better deal. Well, what that actually means probably is that the franchisor makes money off of you some other way. So if the franchisor is the manufacturer of a product that when you buy the product, they're making money, they may not need a royalty because they're making their money from product sales. If the franchisor is tied into vendors and they're getting kickbacks from the vendors, they may have a low royalty or again, no royalty. But how the franchisor makes money from the royalty should always be discussed. Now, when you see a 9 or a 10% royalty, you are not getting ripped off. What that screams, and I say this to all of my candidates, is that's the deal that you want all day long. Because a 9 or a 10% royalty means low fixed cost. Low fixed cost means, okay, so if nobody's coming in, I'm not bleeding to keep my doors open. Trust me, that is absolutely what kept franchisees alive in 2020. But in all times, that's what you want. Because when I talk to owners that are losing sleep over their business or stressed out about their business, it's always around those costs that they can't control. So when you see a big royalty, I say it's the deal that you want all day long because it means low fixed cost. Or here's another way to say it, big, fat, healthy margin. For more information on the fees that you pay to franchisors, or if you're questioning any of these fees and want more clarification beyond what you can get by interviewing the franchisees in a system, please leave a comment below or reach directly out to the Daily Coach. If you've enjoyed this video and would like to see more, don't forget to like and subscribe.